Here are two examples of your knee looms being on bases. Here's a heavy block of wood, and they have a piece set between the slats at the top, and they're pegged in to each one of these cross pieces, giving it stability so it doesn't warp. On this one, you have a longer base, and you then would sit in front of it and still would raise and lower your warp ends just like you would do in the box loom. But this advantage is that you don't have to hold it between your knees. And then on this loom, you have, again, a very heavy piece of wood. I suspect this had a base to it because there's a cutout on the other side. And you can see now down through the top, they have nailed in each one of the slats. This is split across here, but fortunately it's still holding. This is probably late 19th or late 18th century, whereas the fourth type of loom here this too would have rested on the floor, and perhaps this was nailed into something because there are various nails holes here. So I suspect this was into a base, and this is 18th century. Very unique. Here again, these slats are sort of shaped, and you can see how they have a tendency to warp. This one is broken, but they have a tendency to warp when there's nothing across the top to hold them into position. Now on this loom, you would have it under tension again, and here would be one shed, as you can see, and then by raising and pulling up the yarn end, you have a second shed. So this one you just let it drop by gravity, forming one shed, and then you pull it up for your second shed. Now, this one also has an 18th century aspect to it. I suspect it's late 18th, early 19th. But it's unusual in that it's 40-some inches in length. And I have seen them shorter length, and I have one in shorter length, that the heddle has 3 holes here, one for one finger and then 2 fingers, so it would just be a gripping power, so you could just pull it up for one shed and drop it for the second shed. And this has turnings on it. This was also done by a craftsperson, somebody who had the tools, somebody who had the knowledge. Now this one is much like the other one, except here the heddle just has a single hole, and you pull it up for one shed and just let it drop for the second shed. It has the same type of turnings, and this has 1816 DW on it. I suspect that this was not mass produced, but I have seen other replicas of this loom. Whether I have original, I don't know. I suspect I do, but I have a picture of someone who made one. This is very interesting. It's a sleigh type, really, a box. Slits knives be wound on here, and then you do your weaving here, and the finished tape would end up coming down through here and winding it on this roller. This one is an English style loom. The heddle can be removed. It slides up and down. In order to warp it, you take your yarn through the center, then attach it to this roller, and here you have your break. It's very, very thin, flexible break, and you would do your weaving out at this point. This one much represents the loom that Thomas and Sarah Mifflin, when John Singleton Copley made the portrait of Sarah, and he said she's sitting in front of a fringe loom. Well, any of these looms you can make fringe on. So whether or not, this is not the exact loom, but this is a loom much like it. It's very light in weight and would require some kind of a tape placed around here to attach it so that when you're weaving, this would slide across the table very quickly, very easily, and you need something to hold it. So by putting a piece of tape around it and holding it, when you're doing your weaving and pulling on your tension, your loom does not slide across the surface. On this loom, it's a cardboard box, 12 by 6 by 6, and use a fastener for your brake. And you have your ratchet attached to your roller, and the sides are cut out, and a pin is put through to keep it from rolling. Now you roll on your yarn, you put your brake on, and then you do your weaving through your heddle. The heddle is made of mounting board that's just sawed and the holes are drilled in. And this is a teaching tool that we give to students, children as well as adults, to learn how to weave on a box loom. They're inexpensive to make. You have 4 fasteners here, and if your heddle is cut, you could just slide this in and probably it wouldn't move, but we just put the 4 fasteners on and drilled holes through so that it is more secure. That you don't have to have the hole here if you don't want to. This would be just to tuck your yarn in and your shuttle when you're finished. But these were used as a teaching tool at a day camp. And recently I had a group of adults in the afternoon and a group of students, children in the morning. And the children all got one of these, and adults had to buy theirs. In 1977, at the Peter Rentz Farmstead, this all got started because I asked the director then how to weave, whether he would suggest some resource material for me. And his comment was, check with my wife. And my comeback was, is she available? Because she had been working part-time in another museum doing volunteer work there. And I stopped at her home, and she showed the basic elements of weaving, how to warp the loom, how to put the ends, attach them to the reel or the roller, and then how to weave. And from there, all this developed. My husband was instrumental in making me quite a few looms. They are replicated from the originals. And I then started in 1989, 90, collecting more seriously and accumulating. I have almost 100 looms. So it's something that you can easily do. You can watch television and weave at the same time. It's something that is very relaxing, so that you, as I say, you can do any sorts of things while you're weaving. You can hum to yourself if you wish. You can watch television. You can listen to the radio. One thing you can't do is read, because, but other than that, why, it is something that I think people will find it relaxing and enjoying.